I'm hoping you can all hear me quite clearly and that you can see my screen. Richard, I'll rely on you to confirm that both assertions are correct.
First thing is I can hear you. Second thing is I haven't seen you. Yes. Wow, it's a beautiful one.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, my role here today is to basically light a fire under you to get you to thinking about the possibilities available to you as investment clubs in manufacturing, in value addition, so to speak. Like I've been introduced, my name is Daniel Birungi, and I work with the Uganda Manufacturers Association. For those of you that don't know, the UMA is the body that brings together manufacturers of all sizes, and our work is to ensure that we have the right environment in Uganda to support manufacturing. But the secondary work that we do is to evangelize around manufacturing, to get you interested and invested in manufacturing. The chairman did a good job of speaking to a couple of key pieces of news that have appeared over the past week or so, or the past month. And I'll pick on one specifically, where he was mentioning the minister's appeal for us to save as a nation. And I think within this group, we're already fulfilling that appeal because you're all here by virtue of the fact that you're saving within your respective savings group. I dare say that the minister probably needs to go a step further and say that savings are not only good for us in the bank, but they are better for us if they are put to productive use. We need to save for production. We need to save for value addition, because then we multiply the money that's available to us. Now, there's a quote that I like to refer to. It's a quote attributed to the United Nations, but it could be attributed to anyone who has learned anything about manufacturing. And the quote says that the correlations are not perfect, but the poorest countries are invariably the least industrialized ones. And the most successful developing countries are the upper end of the scale, essentially meaning they are the more industrialized ones. One could argue that this could be a quote that is just put out there for purposes of pushing us into value addition. But research has actually proved this. And more so when you look at the aspect of job creation, because you'll all agree with me that given where we are in a place in the world where we need all the jobs that we can get. Nearly each one of us on this call probably knows one or two or more people who need jobs. So jobs in the region that we are in are the currency to prove the value of any business and the ability of any business to grow. And if we are to take that as the figure that we refer to, the job figures, then job multiplier, how many jobs are created for each one job that is created within a sector, is a good measure for us to appreciate how effective specific industries are. Now, looking at that table, you'll see that manufacturing, both durable and non-durable manufacturing, that is, lie at the top of the table. Durable manufacturing refers to manufacturing of items that transcend a year or 2 years in operation. Non-durable manufacturing are mostly related to fast-moving consumer goods. You could talk about the food items, you could talk about the soaps, and all those items that we use quite regularly. But you will find that each of them, for each one job, durable manufacturing gives you 7.4 jobs. Non-durable manufacturing gives you 5.1 jobs. And that right there is an indication of the level of multiplier that each of these elements has, as compared to everything else, because on that list you see mining, you see entertainment, you see transportation, wholesale trade, and so on and so forth. Now, to bring it home to Uganda, because the next argument then becomes that, yes, we do understand that probably value addition, probably manufacturing can have a big multiplier in terms of jobs, can have a big multiplier in terms of multiplying our investment. But in Uganda, is the condition right for you to engage in manufacturing as a savings group? And I'll say, yes, it is. Yes, it is. There are some challenges, definitely. We won't say it's all rosy. But based on the people we've interacted with, based on the 1,500 members of the Manufacturers Association, who day in, day out go out to their factories, go out to their value addition locations to add value, we would argue that indeed the context of Uganda, while difficult, is a context that can be very good for manufacturing. One of the reasons why is that already in the National Development Plan that we are currently running, which is NDP3, value addition has been given a critical role. And for those of you who follow the news, you will notice that there is a big push towards providing financing for manufacturing, for value addition at an affordable rate. There's a big push to provide incentives and an incentive regime that enables investment into value addition. But putting those aside, there's also the fact that given where we are as a country, we are perfectly located for entry into a number of markets around us. Talk about Kenya, talk about Rwanda, talk about DRC, talk about South Sudan. Yes, there could be teething problems at the moment related to access, but that hasn't stopped several of our products from going into some of these markets. And I would say that it's just the beginning, for the reason that with the advent of the African Continental Free Trade Area, we are now presented with a 1.3 billion people market. And where else better to set up than Uganda to then enter these markets? We have a young population that is easily trainable, that is quick to learn, that is quick to grasp the items that we put before them, and that is able to drive our innovations as we go into value addition. And these are key benefits. Now, continentally speaking, like I've said, it couldn't be a better time to think about Africa as a market for Uganda, for the reason that even as we speak, as a continent, we only contribute 2% of global trade. Think of that, only 2%. That means 98% of global trade is trade outside Africa. But the problem even gets worse when you look at the fact that only 17% of African exports were exports to other African countries. Okay? Which essentially means the majority of exports out of Africa went outside the African continent. And it doesn't mean that there is no importation into Africa. No, there's actually quite a bit of importation into Africa from other countries, and of products that we produce in adequate quantities with good quality within Africa. So the African Continental Free Trade Area comes in to solve some of that. And measures such as the measures being put in place to access market information, measures being put in place to enable you to trade in your local currency in other countries, are measures that are then going to unlock Africa and provide an opportunity for us to reinvent this country, Uganda, as the home of manufactured goods in Africa. I've always said that one of the biggest quick wins that we have as a country in relation to this is that we've already done very well in exports And by this, I mean export of peace. We've been at the forefront of exporting peace to the DRC. We've exported peace to South Sudan. We've exported peace to Somalia. We've exported peace to Rwanda as well, and our neighbors around us. And we're saying, as we export this peace, let's not let that export go to waste. Let us, as Ugandans, seize the opportunity to export products that then get into some of these markets that we are creating. Fortunately, infrastructure is going on to be developed into some of these markets. You will note the development of roads into the DRC. Conversations are ongoing on developing Uganda's air freight capacity so that for areas where we can't go by road, we can access by plane and other related areas. Now, what are the bigger global trends that we are seeing that mean that as an investment club, you need to wake up and smell the coffee? One is that we are seeing that there's a transfer of low intensity light manufacturing from Asia to Africa. Low intensity light manufacturing speaks to items that were previously manufactured in the likes of Bangladesh and Vietnam. This would be your garments and apparel. This would be your shoes. This would be your belts. This would be your razor blade safety pins and the like. Items that are in high demand internationally, but only compete by virtue of the fact that the cost of production stays low. Now, as the Asian economies transcend from least developed countries to more developed countries, they then become uncompetitive because labor costs go through the roof, tax costs go through the roof, and the ability to access incentives such as the American Growth and Opportunity Act and the European Free Trade Agreement become impossible because they are now no longer LDCs, which means investors in those areas are looking for partners in our countries. There's also the fact that we have an improving structure situation on the African continent. The fact that incentives are in place to attract partners coming from all over the world to partner with you, the investment clubs here, means that we are getting new inquiries into who is ready to partner for purposes of developing some of these areas. I've already talked about the agro-processing and agro-processing value chain advantages that are available. The fact that we have the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act that enables us to access the American market as Africa, and therefore that as an attractive area for people to invest in. But there's also the fact that, and this is something we speak of very quietly within these groups that we are in, that look, Uganda is in a position to take off a lot of the spillovers. The people who are now, because of the instability in the markets around us, in Ethiopia, for example, the investors who are then saying, wait a minute, I had invested in Ethiopia, but now I'm not so sure with the rebels marching in. Can I move to another country to see whether I can build on the momentum I had gained in Africa? It's an opportunity for us to leverage as a country, and it's something that we need to be mindful of as investment clubs. Now, usually the question at this point is, yes, you talk a big talk about the opportunities available, but break it down for us in real terms. Where are the opportunities? What could be some of the areas we could focus on? And one of the areas that we've looked at as an association, as something SMEs can get into, really, is the aspect of packing sugar or any other item in smaller quantities for resale. You will note that as a destination, as a tourism destination, Uganda is quickly growing. And because of that, we are getting a lot of demand from hotels, from lodges, from apartments to have customized products for the guests to come to them. One of these could be packed sugar. The packed sugar in teaspoon quantities that the likes of the big boys, the big players in the sugar sector, may not be able to do in a customized manner, for the simple reason that as a Kakira Sugar Works, as a Kinyara Sugar Works, as a Lugazi Sugar, I'm not going to listen to Daniel coming to me to say he wants 1,000 customized teaspoons packed in single bags for a small company, because the economies of scale do not add up. But you, as an SME, you, as an investment club, can quickly get into this area. Customize and say Daniel's Lodge on a teaspoon of sugar packed in a sachet, that then makes it easier to dispense to the potential client. And the same could be said for tea bags that are customized. The same could be said for coffee and so many other powdered items. And what are the figures related to this? This is the kind of machine I'm talking about in this regard. An automatic day pack powder packing and sealing machine. It can do anything from curry powder, sugar, rice, whatever it is. And the quantities are set by you. This machine costs roughly about $4,285 for a single machine. And it's up to you to determine the amount of machines you want, and depending on the amount of product that you want to pack. And by the way, the prices I'm quoting here are prices in Uganda, taxes paid, ready to operate. Now, we worked out a simple mathematics. It's by no means concrete, and feel free to poke holes into it. But we're saying that, look, if we take the upper end and say you're spending $5,000 for the machine setup, which is right about 18 million shillings, and you're aiming to do quantities of 250,000 packs per month, with each pack costing 50 shillings, you will have a revenue of 12.5 million shillings a month. And if you factor in costs, which we've listed down there, labor, materials, marketing, rent, which is on the high end at 2 million per month, and utilities, and a 1 million contingency for anything that happens, you'll end up with costs of 9 million, and therefore have an income of 2.6 million per month as an investment club. These are items that you can make. They don't need too much manpower. And marketing is very simple, because you go to these companies, to these lodges, to these hotels. Yes, one could argue that perhaps this is an area that is going to pick up post-January once we open up, but it will, and there's an opportunity for us to get into that. The other area is small-scale maize milling factory. You've all seen the stories of how we are struggling to get our maize, and this is raw maize, unprocessed maize, into our neighboring countries. But that hasn't stopped the Kenyans from coming here and buying processed maize, which is flour, maize flour. Now, if you work out the cost of a small-scale maize milling factory, the cost of that is going to be quite low, because an average machine, maize milling machine, is anywhere from $1,800 to $2,500, and that includes the packing capacity. So if you invested in this, for example, as an area of focus, this is the math that we are looking at, that you would be able to have an income of about 2.1 million per year, and per month. And for a year, you're looking at about 25 million. You have a payback period of about half a year. And this is an investment where we've never had a situation where there's a shortage of raw maize in this country, because we grow maize quite a bit. Why not think about the opportunities inherent in there? The other one I'll quickly point out is the issue of plastic waste recycling. And I like that the chairman spoke about the environment. And we're seeing significant interest in investment in environmental solutions. There's actually a bunch of funds that are set up to add money into businesses that are doing environmentally sensitive businesses. Things like collecting plastic waste and developing it into other products. We have companies right here in Uganda that are making a killing out of making plastic paving blocks. And we're saying there's an opportunity for you as investment clubs to focus on some of these areas. That is the kind of math that we are looking at that could provide you with access to significant funds in terms of providing some of these products on the market. But then again, the other argument is that perhaps you as an investment club are not looking to invest in a factory or in a small scale business that requires someone to run. Perhaps then the opportunity is in investing in already running businesses. Because as a manufacturing sector, as many of the people in the value addition sector will tell you, a key challenge we have is access to credit. That credit is tied up. Commercial bank credit is quite expensive at 18, 20, 22%, and is unreachable for most of us. But there are measures in place that can enable you as an investment club take a piece of a factory. I mean, if you hear stories of factories that are making as much as $2 million a day in sales in this country, wouldn't you want to be part of that success story? And some of these are quickly looking for funding. They are able to offer you bonds. Bonds are secured investments that are secured under the Capital Markets Authority, and your return is guaranteed. But you get a piece of the pie without necessarily being part of management and figuring out how the production process goes through. And we're saying, as investment clubs, yes, I know that many of you have looked at real estate as the cure-all. But at the end of the day, how many positive real estate deals have we found in this market? I don't think there are that many. What is the return on investment in real estate? How quickly can you get out of real estate if you need to liquidate? These are the questions you need to be asking yourselves as you think of where to invest. And we are saying that perhaps the opportunity is that you join the many people out there who are adding value to then grow the capacity of this economy through value addition. The advantage that you have beyond other groups that we've talked to is, given your location in the central region, is that investment in value addition lends itself to the fact that you have large tracts of land that can support even investment in private industrial parks. Because we also understand that some of your investment clubs may be wary of stepping out of real estate. And we're saying, wait a minute, fine, if you're stuck in real estate, what about providing the infrastructure that then enables the businesses to come and set up? I know of about 2 companies that deal in real estate that have invested in commercial grade industrial park space, where companies are going to them and saying, look, you've already set up the warehousing, you have a plug and play facility, can we come to you and rent the space from you and put our factory within your space? That could be an area for you to consider. But we also have a growing middle class, which means that products coming out of value addition have a big market. We have a significant amount of products that are coming from beyond Uganda that could be made here and that could be attractive to our Ugandan market. I've already talked about access to market at both national and regional level, and that it's something we could leverage given where we are in the central region. That from Kampala, you're quickly able to send materials, send products across the whole country. you're quickly able to send products through the airport to any destination. Next month, Uganda Airlines is beginning flights to London, I think about 3 times a week, which means a product from Uganda can be in London within a week if it is well made and ready to access that market. Why not leverage that opportunity? Support services and skill sets are all centrally located in central Uganda. Take advantage of that. Interconnection, be it through internet, the fact that today we are speaking online. How can you utilize some of these services to then access the markets that are around us? And I say this as with a mind also aware of a number of statistics that are running out there. And I'll give you figures from 2019, that in 2019, Uganda imported $18.9 million worth of raw plastic sheeting. These are plastic sheets used to cover items, used in export market, and of these, 78% came from Kenya. Plastic lids, we imported $23 million worth of plastic lids in 2019. 45% of those came from India, 23% came from Kenya. We imported rubber footwear worth $50.3 million. This would be where your nigina, for those of you who know it, falls. And it's not that it's very complicated to make. 69% came from China, 17% from Kenya. I'll pick on used clothing because it's an area that is very close to my heart, as an area we all as Ugandans need to pay attention to. $38.8 million worth of used clothing. Money donated out of Uganda. India brought in 23%, Poland brought in 21%. Those were the leaders. Now, why I picked on used clothing is garmenting specifically is one of the easiest setups that you can have. I've been to a factory in Sri Lanka where they guarantee that they can take someone off the street and in 4 days, train them to be part of a chain of 5 people who are able to do a shirt every 2 minutes. There's nothing special about them. It's something we could do here. The skill sets are available. All we need is very little machinery to do this. Why don't we get into some of these areas? Now, of course, some questions at this point are always around what are the incentives available for investment in value addition? And I always say, please go to the URA website, go to the Uganda Investment Authority website, because it's where we get all this information, that there is significant support for investment in value addition. One of the key elements is that you get your plant, you get your machinery, you get your equipment coming in at zero duty. And you don't know the value of that, because if everyone else is getting machinery coming in at 45% of duty and you're getting it at 0%, it means you get off the bat to a good start. You get to defer a lot of taxes that you could otherwise pay. And there's an opportunity there for you then. And so many of these are available. I'll share this slideshow, of course, and it will be shared with you. So I won't delve into individual benefits. But in each of the areas you see there, is an opportunity, there is an import duty remission, and it's possible for you to get into some of these businesses and make significant amounts of money out of them. I talked about AGOA and duty-free access to the American market for so many products. And that's an area that we could also benefit from. But a lot of the times, the question at this point is, oh yes, but you see, yes, you want us to go into value addition, but we've heard that it's complicated. We've heard you need to talk to so and so and so and so and so and so to get started. You need to do so much in order to get wherever you want to go. In fact, in your speech, you've just told us that we need to import machinery in order to start. And I've always said, it's not rocket science. You see, when we say value addition and manufacturing, people tend to think we are re-engineering the wheel. It's nothing spectacular. Value addition can be as simple as the woman who is getting groundnuts from Tseseni, frying them in a frying pan that cost her probably 15,000, with charcoal that cost her probably 5,000, buying polythene packing worth probably 20,000, packaging it using all those ingredients, and taking it to a supermarket in her neighborhood to sell at 1,500 shillings. Having invested per pack 500 shillings. And when you break it down to that level, when you break it down to the level of saying that a single pack costing 1,000 shillings of potato crisps in the supermarket has one Irish potato and cooking, and maybe 2 teaspoons of cooking oil and as little salt as the ingredients that then make the 1,000 shilling pack. It then gets you to understand that even you, wherever you are, can be involved in value addition. Now, with the scale of an investment club, your ability to add value then grows exponentially. And I think it's an opportunity that you need to think about within your respective investment clubs. There's an opportunity here for generational wealth generation, that we are generating wealth that transcends a single generation. You've all heard the story of the Madivanis, you've heard the story of the Mukwanos, of the Mulwanas, but when you go behind the scenes, you'll find that many of these stories start small. They were not where they are today when they started. They started small, and you too have the ability to start small and grow. The other bit, of course, is that make use of membership organizations. Oftentimes, we tend to think that we know it all, we can research on our own and get into some of these areas. But several of these membership organizations, ours included as FUMA, are able to provide you some of this information without you even investing in any research as a starting point. But beyond that, they're able to open doors to potential suppliers, to potential partners, to potential funders. Because even as we speak about value addition and the investment inherent in there, we're not speaking about the fact that today there's a yield fund set up by NSSF and Power Capital Partners that is waiting to invest in businesses that look like they can grow. So all you need is the seed capital to start up and then access some of this financing. But importantly also is to take advantage of the existing training and business readiness programs. You've heard of Enterprise Uganda. You've heard of Uganda Industrial Research Institute. You've heard of Stanbic Bank Business Incubator, and so on and so forth. These are entities that are available to help you during your growth stage, that you grow your company to the level that it can attract international financing. And look, the opportunity here is 5 years down the road, as when you're successful, but you feel that you're done with value addition, you want to move into something else. There are already entities willing to pay you to get out of your businesses. They'll take up an equity space in your company and let you go and retire peacefully. So opportunities are before us, opportunities are available to us. The challenge we often face is the challenge illustrated in that slide. I like to call it paralysis, analysis paralysis. That we end up over-analyzing situations and opportunities. Rather than making fast decisions to get into some of these businesses, we want to make sure that we have the perfect business plan, that we've recruited the perfect COO, the perfect CEO, and the perfect CFO, that we've taken the board for a retreat to understand what the strategy is for the next 5 years before we can hit the ground running. In there is the challenge that while you're doing that, someone else is starting and becoming a market leader, and it becomes then impossible for you to come on board and take advantage of the opportunities that are available over there. I like to end with this slide. And for me, this slide explains how it's not about overthinking, it's about research, it's about understanding what's out there. It's about appreciating that opportunities sometimes are in places that we least expect to see them. And in 2019, the total world trade in citrus and melon peels, you had that right. Citrus and melon peels, meaning citrus is oranges, lemon, etc., the peels of those, and watermelon peels, totaled $115 million. Let me let that sink in. $115 million worth of citrus and melon peels was traded in 2019 alone. The question I usually get asked at this point is, what do they use them for? They're used to extract essence that is used in perfumes, that is used in other pharmaceuticals, and there's a big market for these out there. But go to your average market today. You're probably going to find many of these peels on the floor. When you peel melons and lemons at your home, the first thing you probably get rid of is the peels. But within your dustbin, you have potentially $115 million. So are you still saying you cannot add value? Are you still saying you're incapable of adding value? I don't think so. So with that, I wish to thank you so much for the opportunity to present to you. I only hope I've tickled a bit of your mind to think about the possibilities, and I welcome questions, comments, and any additions. Thank you so much. Over to you, Richard.
Wow, my God. Thank you so much, Daniel. I was lost for words. The way you have brought out and unpacked the value addition, it's beyond my expectation. Thank you so much. Members, you have heard it yourselves, how citrus and